there I am. Oh, I like this bonnet. It's like black and white. It's a little dark in here. I don't know what's happening. Oh, that's what's happening. Yeah. Yes, there I am. Hey, hello. Hi. So this bonnet is a striking paisley, which I didn't think was actually invented in the 1800s. That was more turn of the century. But there's your paisley. Someone will know when paisley was invented. That's like a thing. Bill Graff probably knows when paisley was invented. There we go. Tiddly-doo, tiddly-doo. Ah! Wow. So, like, it's Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? You know what it is. It is Wednesday. It is April 29th. Is it April 29th already? Wasn't it March? Like, a week ago? What happened? I don't have a tin cup because I have a cup of coffee, and I'm worried that it's hot. Although the tin cup, it won't leak, I don't think. Will the tin cup get too hot in my hand? That could be a thing. But I do have snacks. I have, I'm being super healthy today. I have a tangerine, and, but I do also have a giant, I wasn't going to get this big a box, but there was a coupon. A sale? A coupon? I've never been able to resist a sale or a coupon. I did garage sales. I did bargains. So it's the 29th today, which I cannot believe, which is National Shrimp Scampi Day. I happen to love shrimp. I'm going to make that for dinner. I have a bag of shrimp in the freezer. There's shrimp in the freezer. There's always spaghetti in the cupboard. So garlic, garlic, garlic. Hot tip, if you're having trouble keeping fresh garlic fresh, because they eventually go off if you don't use it every day, I use it every day, but just in case. Yes, there's the little jars, but the garlic that you can keep, the fresh ones in the little ceramic thing helps. But they sell jars in the supermarket of chopped garlic and crushed garlic. They're both delicious. The chopped is really kind of good. Just buy a couple. They keep, like mad, long after your fresh garlic has sprouted roots. You can put them in a refrigerator, and they're really strong. Like the tiniest bit makes your olive oil and garlic just nuclear. So, totally get the jar chopped and crushed garlic. It's totally worth it. So Shrimp Scampi Day, because that's going to happen. National Peace Rose Day. Oh, there's all those roses they name after things. It's the Peace Rose Day. National Zipper Day. I think we should all be very grateful for this. What would we do? I mean, buttonfly jeans were cool, but zipper, 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 zipper. Denim Day, which changes annually, but this year it's the 20th. I think that makes sense that Denim Day and Zipper Day are the same day because it's your jeans. Who does it? There's like an office. I read about it. There's an office, and that is all they do all flippin' day is this. Bill Graff, Paisley. When was Paisley invented? I don't know why I think you would know that, but what year was Paisley? Because I don't think Paisley was 1800s. I think it's like 1919 or something. Art Nouveau. I'm making that up. I don't know what I'm talking about. I vaguely remember the Art Nouveau. There you are. So today, is chapter, we'll do 14 and 15. So odd. Some of the days. Spring Freshet is the title. Spring Freshet. Basically, we're going to have more flooding and danger. I don't think anyone drowns this week. It's good. But yeah, the Ingalls are about to. They made some mistakes moving to Kansas, not realizing there'd be issues with fire and Native Americans and wolves, and being surprised by everything that happened and that they were in the wrong area. This one zippers from 1920, very good. But then. Here, they're not really getting it about the grasshopper weather, the grasshopper's coming, and in this dugout, they also don't quite get it. It's so cute, it's right next to the creek. And what happens when it rains? And the creek, like, goes bloop, 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 bloop. So, yeah, it's, they're about to find out. Yet another terrible mistake in choice of lodging is about to happen. Spring, Freshet. In the middle of the night, Laura sat straight up in bed. That actually happens a lot. She, like, never sleeps. She has insomnia for days. Oh, they're trying to look at the foolhardy. They're totally. Paisley, Scotland. Thank you. 1798. So this Paisley bonnet is not historically inaccurate. This fabulous Paisley bonnet, which will be up on there, is totally. That's good to know. Okay. She sat straight up in bed. She'd never heard anything like the roaring at the door. Pa, what's that?" she screamed. "Sounds like the creek," he said. There we go again. Jumping out of bed, he opened the door, and the roaring came into the black darkness of the dugout. It scared Laura. She heard Pa shouting, "Jiminy crickets, it's raining fish." I'm sorry, this is too funny. I can't stand it. "Jiminy crickets, it's raining fish hooks and hammer handles." Now, I've heard Jiminy crickets. We're all, of course, all familiar with Jiminy Cricket, the little cricket guy in Pinocchio. But Jiminy crickets is a very, very old expression, and we know why, because it's JC. It's like Judas Priest, which also always cracks me up. It's because when people don't want to, take the Lord's name in vain, they don't want to say Jesus, because it's, especially in the 1800s. No, and many people just don't like to do that. They'll swear, but they won't blaspheme. And even the French talk about that. They go, "Pourquoi le blasphème? Tout le temps les Américains blasphème." So it's one thing to, drop an F-bomb. Another thing to say Jesus. So he's Jiminy Crickets, and that gets you your JC swear word, and Ma won't yell at you because you said Jiminy Crickets, which is okay. It's raining fish hooks and hammer handles. I've heard cats and dogs, but this one is great. Fish hooks and hammer handles. And that would be a really bad rain. There you go. That's right. Dorothy says Jiminy Crickets. Bill Grouse. Even Dorothy. Jiminy Crickets. Jiminy Crickets is totally cool. If you're around your grandma, your relatives who don't like it. Jiminy Crickets. You're safe. You're safe to say that. Ma said something that Laura could not hear. She probably told him to stop saying Jiminy Crickets. Ma said something. "Can't see a thing," Pa shouted. "It's dark as a stack of black cats." He's going to keep going with these metaphors here. "Don't worry, the creek can't get this high. It will go over the low bank on the other side." He's been wrong generally all the time. He shut the door, and the roaring was not so loud. "Go to sleep, Laura," he said. But Laura lay awake, listening to the roaring thundering by the door. Then she opened her eyes. The window was gray. Pa was gone. Ma was getting breakfast, but the creek was still roaring. In a flash, Laura was out of bed and opening the door. Whoosh! Icy cold rain went all over her and took her breath away. She jumped out into cold water, pouring down her whole skin. Right at her feet, the creek was rushing and roaring. Okay, why did she open the door? It's like, don't open the door. I would have figured that much out. Oh, coffee. Why did she open the door? She's so crazy. The path ended where she was. Angry water was leaping and rolling over the steps that used to go down to the footbridge. The willow clumps were drowned and treetops swirled in yellow foam. The noise crowded into Laura's ears. She could not hear the rain. She felt it beating on her sopping wet nightgown. She felt it striking her head as if she had no hair, but she heard only the creek's wild roaring. She could feel it hit her head, and it hurt because fish hooks and hammer handles. It was that bad. Oh my, the fast, strong water was fearful and fascinating. It snarled, foaming through the willow tops and swirled far out on the prairie. It came dashing high and white around the bend upstream. It was always changing and always the same, strong and terrible. In other words, it did not go down the lower bank. I guess Pa was hoping. It totally breached the banks. The creek has gone kablooey. It is out of the banks. It is coming up the front door. And Laura, of course, goes, "Here, let me just open the door. Why should I not open a door?" Obviously, it's shut for a reason, and Pa's out. And it's like, no, oops, into the water. So here we go. Suddenly, Ma jerked Laura into the dugout, asking her, "Didn't you hear me call you?" "No, Ma," Laura said. "Well, no," said Ma. "I suppose you didn't." Water was streaming down Laura and making a puddle around her bare feet. Ma pulled off her sticking wet nightgown and rubbed her hard all over with a towel. "Now dress quickly," Ma said, "or you'll catch your death of cold." Did your parents and grandparents say that? Catch your death of cold? Well, and I mean, they were right back in their day. Did you, and also they're in the middle of nowhere, right? No Doc Baker. You catch a cold, you're on your own. And you could, get the flu, you could get pneumonia. They didn't have COVID-19, but they had a whole mess of diseases in the 1870s. And people did not just, pop round to Doc Baker's and get some pills. They didn't get some Tamiflu. They were just getting sick. And sometimes you weren't so lucky, 1870s. And she's freezing. And that's why Mom was obviously screaming at her, going, "Hey, dummy, you're getting wet." All right. Laura was glowing warm. She had never felt so fine and frisky. Mary said, "I'm surprised at you, Laura. I wouldn't go out into the rain and get all wet like that." "Oh, Mary, you just ought to see the creek," Laura cried. And she asked, "Ma, may I go out and see it again after breakfast?" "You may not," said Ma. "Not while it's raining." Well, Laura's like, this is awesome. This is so good. For Laura, it was like a cold shower. It's very bracing. She enjoyed it, but she could have drowned. But while they were eating breakfast, the rain stopped. The sun was shining, and Pa said that Laura and Mary might go with him to look at the creek. The air was fresh and clean and damp. It smelled like spring. The sky was blue with large clouds sailing in it. All the snow was gone from the soaking wet earth. Up on the high bank, Laura could still hear the creek roaring. "This weather beats me," said Pa. "I never saw anything like it." "Is this still grasshopper weather?" Laura asked him, but Pa did not know. Exactly. The weather is all wonky. It was all gray and weird. There was no snow. Suddenly the spring, there's abnormally heavy rain. Grasshopper, grasshopper, grasshopper. Pa, take the hint. I don't know how. They went along the high bank, looking at strange sights. The roaring, foaming creek changed everything. The plum thickets were only foamy brushwood in the water. The tableland was a round island. All around it, the water flowed smoothly, coming out of a wide, humping river and running back into it. Where the swimming pool had been, the tall willows were short willows standing in a lake. Beyond them, the land that Pa had plowed lay black and wet. Pa looked at it and said, "Well, it won't be long now till I can get the wheat planted." He's just not getting it. Pa's not getting it. He does not get it. This is a very serious flood. Anyway, help, help, I'm stuck in the gullet. Monkey trap. Do you know what a monkey trap is? It's the jar and the monkey won't let go of the banana. So this is a monkey trap. You go, "I have some goldfish. Help, help, help." Let go of the goldfish. Don't take so many. It's a monkey trap. Oh, those are lovely. All right. So, huge giant flood, which they still think is great and don't realize that this is a problem. The footbridge. All's well that ends. All's well that ends. The footbridge. Next day, Laura was sure that Ma would not let her go to play in the creek. It was still roaring, but more softly. In the dugout, she could hear it calling her. So Laura quietly slipped outdoors without saying anything to Ma. Should we keep count of how many times Laura Ingalls directly disobeys her parents, sometimes within seconds of them telling her not to do something, or within days of nearly drowning or dying from something? Oh, I think I'll do it again. I think it's a drinking game. Like, oh, Laura's completely directly disobeyed her mother. Everybody take a swig. It's that bad. I mean, she's constantly just like, well, I'll go do this other thing now. And you know it's going to be dangerous. But notice how it's calling to her. Laura's call of the wild. Laura is always looking for adventure and craziness. And she's like, she hears creek. Here comes trouble. The water was not so high now. It had gone down from the steps, and Laura could see it foaming against the footbridge. Part of the plank was above the water. All winter, the creek had been covered with ice. It had been motionless and still, never making a sound. Now it was running swiftly and making a joyful noise. Where it struck the edge of the plank, it foamed up in white bubbles and laughed to itself. Laura took off her shoes and stockings and put them safely on the bottom step. Then she walked out on the plank and stood watching the noisy water. She's worried about her shoes. Her shoes she put somewhere safe. Drops splashed her bare feet, and thin little waves ran around them. She dabbled one foot in the swirling foam. Then down she sat on the plank and plumped both her legs into the water. Oh, that's not dangerous at all. It's a flood. It's a whirlpool. An out of control, like rapids, white rapid stream. And she's like, I'll just stick my feet in here. The creek ran strong against them, and she kicked against it. That was fun. Now she was wet almost all over, but her whole skin wanted to be in the water. She lay on her stomach and thrust her arms down on each side of the plank, deep into the fast current. Again, dangerous much? We'll pull it. You know this isn't going to work out. But that was not enough. That was not enough. She wanted to be really in the roaring, joyous creek. She wanted to shoot the rapids. She wanted to go whitewater rafting. That's what she wanted. She clasped her hands together under the plank and rolled off it. She's on the thing doing, and she just goes, well, I'll just hold on to the plank and go bloop bloop. Yes. And Amy just said when Nellie and Laura, yes, in the show when we went fell in the river, and she jumps in to try to save me because I'm an idiot, and we fall in the river. And we wind up clutching that hunk of bushes and shooting the rapids. That's totally what's happening here. In that very instant, she knew the creek was not playing. It was strong and terrible. It seized her whole body and pulled it under the plank. Only her head was out and one arm desperately across the narrow plank. The water was pulling her, and it was pushing too. It was trying to drag her head under the plank. Her chin held onto the edge, and her arm clutched while the water pulled hard at all the rest of her. It was not laughing now. Drowning, drowning. Okay, so check it out. There she is. So there's the plank. It's a little teeny tiny plank. That's all. And look, she's jammed her chin against it, which probably hurts, and the one arm. And look at the current here. And remember, she's like 7. Again, she's not like 10 years old. There's like she's almost there. She's little teeny tiny like 7-year-old girl. She's not even 9 or 10, and she's gonna drown. Is what's gonna happen. How does she get out of this? And oh yeah, right. No one knew where she was. No one could hear her if she screamed for help. The water roared loud and tugged at her stronger and stronger. Laura kicked, but the water was stronger than her legs. She got both arms across the plank and pulled, but the water pulled harder. I'm going to drown. It pulled the back of her head down. It jerked as if it would jerk her in two. It was cold. The coldness soaked into her. And because she snuck out and did not tell her mother where she was going, literally, what would happen is they would like wake up and say, oh, wolves took her. Someone has kidnapped Laura and she is not here. She has just walked out and jumped in the river. And in fact, they wouldn't even find her body. I know it sounds horrible, but also like exposure. When we were doing that creek episode, Maria, they were telling us to be careful. That's why we had to wear the diver wetsuits under our clothes because it was so cold. They said even experienced swimmers and whitewater rafters got horribly injured and sometimes died in that river because it was so cold. It would hit your chest and, and it would like seize up the muscles. And with the current, of course, you're having trouble trying to get to shore. But it would be so cold, it would make it hard to breathe and you drown. So it's freezing cold and a hard current and is pulling her under. And she's 7. So yeah, this is bad. This was not like wolves or cattle. The creek was not alive. It was only strong and terrible and never stopping. It would pull her down and whirl her away, rolling and tossing her like a willow branch. It would not care. Her legs were tired and her arms hardly felt the plank anymore. I must get out. I must, she thought. The creek's roaring was in her head. She kicked hard with both her feet and pulled hard with her arms. And then she was lying on the plank again. The plank was solid and under her stomach and under her face. She lay on it and breathed and was glad it was solid. Now, she's done this before, where Laura in an emergency gets like superhuman strength and is able to lift things, off of Mary and stuff. Thank heavens. And the bursts of courage where she takes on cattle. But like she says, she can't talk this river. She can't say whoa. She's not going to talk the river out of drowning her. When she moved, her head whirled. Yes, because you almost drowned and you're suffering from exposure. She crawled off the plank. She took her shoes and her stockings and she climbed slowly up the muddy steps. At the door of the dugout, she stopped. She did not know what to say to Ma. Like, hi, I directly disobeyed you and went outside and literally purposely jumped into the rapids and almost drowned because I'm crazy. That's what you'd have to say. After a while, she went in. Just inside the door, she stood still and water dripped off her. Ma was sewing. Where have you been, Laura? Wait, they're in one room. She didn't notice she was... She's like, so she didn't notice she was gone. Where have you been, Laura? Ma asked, looking up. Then she came quickly. She said, my goodness, turn around quick. She began unbuttoning Laura down the back. What happened? Did you fall in the creek? Now, at this point, since Laura's going to be in all kinds of trouble and disobey, she could, in theory, say, yes, yeah, that's totally what happened. I was minding my own business, and I totally fell. Accidentally. Not on purpose. Fell in the creek. And, that's how I got wet. But Laura, to her credit, cannot tell a lie. No, ma'am, Laura said. I went in. Ma listened and went on undressing Laura and rubbing her heart all over with a towel. She did not say a word, even when Laura had told her everything. Laura's teeth chattered, and Ma wrapped a quilt around her and sat her close to the stove. At last, Ma said, well, Laura, you've been very naughty, and I think you knew it all the time. But I can't punish you. I can't even scold you. You came near being drowned. Laura did not say anything. You won't go near the creek again till Pa or I say you may, and that won't be till the water goes down, said Ma. No, Laura said. Remember when she was under house arrest for like several days? Because she almost drowned? Because, again, she already did this. Just like 2 chapters ago. She went to the swimming hole. She almost drowned. And Pa said, okay, we can't trust you. We literally cannot trust you. You cannot leave the house. You cannot go out the front door. You must stay in the house until you've learned your lesson, and then we can trust you. Boom! What's it? A week later? Telling you. No, Laura said. Oh, dear. The creek would go down. It would be a gentle, pleasant place to play in again. But nobody could make it do that. Nobody could make it do anything. Laura knew now that there were things stronger than anybody. But the creek had not got her. It had not made her scream, and it could not make her cry. Well, that Laura. Well, see, okay, it did. It did not make her cry. She is tough. She almost drowned, but she didn't cry or anything. But she is finally, like learning respect for nature. Because creeks are dangerous. Creeks, as are wolves and bears and panthers. They will eat you, and creeks you can drown. And a healthy respect for nature is important, realizing that, it's pretty, but it doesn't know. It doesn't know you're there, and you can get hurt, and you can get killed, especially if you're 7, and you've just been told, don't go in the creek, and you jump in the rapids. So, yes, she absolutely, yeah. One day, see, that was it. They thought she learned her lesson, as Sarah said. That was only one day, and boom, she's doing it again. I would have this kid on a leash, I'm telling you. So, she this is only book 4. She's going to do this. She's going to do this again before this book's over. There's 5 more books. She's going to disobey her parents some more. Laura's just crazy. She's just like that. But there you go. See, now you see why these books were a hit. Why the show was a hit. If Laura had been super, super goody-goody, like, okay, Mary, had she been perfect and done everything her parents said, the stories would have been rather dull. There wouldn't have been long. Nothing really would have happened. But because Laura was a little bad and kind of, did crazy, brave, insane, stupid, foolish things, there was a lot more to write about. It became interesting. And that's why kids got into it, because they went, wait, she's not perfect. She's not, Mary's kind of perfect, but this Laura girl, she's not perfect. She messes up all the time. She gets in trouble. She's constantly doing things she isn't really supposed to do. And she's not, like, good at everything. She's kind of terrible at things, like figuring out not to drown. But she's very brave. And she's very tough. So, River not going to make me cry. And she's complex. She's, like, interesting. And it's not, and I said it's not all pat. It's not like, yes, and they lived on the Indians' land, and the Indians were fine with that. No, they weren't. No, the Indians were not fine with that, nor was the government. And it didn't work out. And they had to move. And Laura argues with her parents constantly and says, well, wait, you said we're moving to Indian territory, so hello, they're here. What are we doing? And so she constantly questions things. So it's all more complex than one would think. And that is why generations of little girls read them over and over and over and over again because it was actually like exciting. And it gets more exciting because Nellie Oleson shows up. Ah, yes. Then it gets really interesting. And then she falls in love really young because it's a little town on the prairie. She meets Almanzo, and really young because on the show people said, wait, wasn't she like insanely young and wasn't he a lot older? Yeah, in real life. She's like 15, 16 years old, and she's in love with this guy. And he was a good 10 years older. In fact, Dean, who played Almanzo, was I think only 9 years older than Melissa Gilbert. Almanzo was a full 10 years older than Laura Ingalls, and she was a teenager. And it was like, okay. And again, her parents were, but no, she was like, nope, I'm going to go be crazy and pursue this guy. And of course they got married and stayed happily married till death did them part. So, who knows? There you go. But Laura constantly, she did, and she wasn't a nice little girl. When Nellie got up in her face, she didn't say, oh, let me go get Miss Beadle. No, she just hauled off and got in a fist fight. So this is why people like this stuff. And in the show, I think, although we changed a lot. Oh, suddenly Johnny Johnson has like several episodes and speaks English. And oh, Mr. Hanson, who's there for a paragraph, suddenly is a regular character. So, yeah, we mess with stuff. But I think Michael was very smart. I think the show, the producers, the actors, we picked the elements, the moments that were the most interesting from the books and went, oh, that's nice. Well, what if Johnny Johnson, he sounds cute. What if he spoke English as well as Norwegian, and he picked up English and became like a regular character? Was Mr. Hanson? Yeah. Well, what if he ran the mill, and then we could see him all the time? So, yeah, it kind of made sense. And that is why the books are a hit, and the show is a hit, and, like, yay. And why I can sit here wearing a bonnet. Hanging out in my living room talking to all of you. So it all worked out really well. I'm so glad Laura did not drown in the river, and she lived to write these books so that they could make a show. Yes, I am so happy. I'm so happy to talk to all of you. I'm so happy that I was Nellie Oleson on Little House on the Prairie. It was a hoot. I enjoyed doing it. I love reading the books. I like the show. I do. Yes, DVDs, because I made DVDs. So here I am. I'm doing this. I'm going to be doing lots more silly things. There's things happening. May 9th, May 16th, Saturday night, May 9th. I'll be that part of the living room. So you go to spincyclenyc.com, spincyclenyc.com, and there's tickets to Alison Arngrim's Confessions of a Prairie Terror. And then I will be in your living room. You buy a ticket, and then I'm in your living room talking to you and saying all sorts of outrageous things. It'll be fun. So we'll do that. And bonnets, they're on their way. I just got a bunch of orders. I was at the post office yesterday. A whole bunch of you got stuff coming in the mail. And then I've been told there's a big box of these suckers coming my way, so we'll fill those the second we go. I'm going to be like actually labeling the envelopes tonight, so like when they arrive, I just so we're making it happen. And then things. So there's this woman in New York. She's an actress. She's on Broadway. Her name's Pamela Bob, and she's so cool. And she wrote and created a show called yes, Living on a Prairie. Hello. She loves Little House on the Prairie. And she's been teased about it quite a bit. But she wrote a show about this woman, this character she plays, who loves Little House on the Prairie like too much, like more than you guys. Like she's gone cuckoo for the prairie. She's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for the prairie, and it's hilarious. And she's actually gotten some Little House people. Charlotte Stewart is in it. I'm in it, this Living on a Prairie thing. I play her life coach therapist. Yes, I of all people, the one, I tried to talk sense into her about her excessive Little House on the Prairie watching. It's hysterical. And it's called Living on a Prairie, and it's going to be a whole thing where it's going to be launched on YouTube, and it's adorable, and you'll like it. And there's going to be a thing where some of us from the show may have a little online chat about it. It could be a thing, and it's going to be fun. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Things are happening. Cooking. I'm getting a lot of comments and questions about cooking. That there shall be cooking tips because, well, Nellie couldn't cook. Who's going to do the cooking? But I do cook. And so I may soon, don't know, there may be like cooking lessons on Facebook. Stay tuned. So tomorrow at 1:30, read 2 more chapters. Soon, Miss Beetle is coming soon. And this will be fabulous. And take care and eat something healthy. Have it like a tangerine. They're so good for you. Good for the skin. Wash your hands. Get some rest. And I'll see you tomorrow.